today's lecture, we are going to talk about proteins. As we all know, proteins are the basic macromolecule and they are the most abundant organic molecules found in our cells. Proteins are the most abundant organic molecules found in cells and our body mass is composed of proteins almost 50% of total dry weight. So total dry weight of our body mass is 50% of protein. So proteins are the abundant macromolecules. They are found in our cells and the most of the mass of our body is composed of protein. So proteins plays major role in our body as proteins performs the various functions. Proteins performs various functions in body, like some proteins are carrier proteins. Some proteins are carrier proteins, means they carry and transport the specific substances to the different parts of our body. For example, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein. You might be familiar about it. Hemoglobin is a protein. It carries oxygen. It carries oxygen from blood to different parts of our body. Some of the proteins are defensive proteins. There are the proteins which are defensive proteins. For example, antibodies. Antibodies, they have the function, they protect our body from foreign pathogen or any disease causing agent. So our body has a defensive system, body has its own immunity which is present in our body in the form of the antibodies. So antibodies are the defensive proteins which protect the body against the foreign pathogen. Proteins has also many other functions, like some proteins are muscle proteins and they are used to build muscles, and other proteins, they also have blood clotting function. Some proteins have blood clotting. Some proteins have blood clotting ability. For example, fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is a blood clotting protein and what does it do? It protects the body against blood loss in case of injury. So protein has a number of functions, like you can say the proteins can clot your blood if you have an injury, if you have injury, so your blood will move out of your body, and if there is no fibrinogen in your body, so your blood will not clot, and you will suffer from a loss of blood from your body. So fibrinogen is a protein which protects your body from blood loss in case of injury or in case of any cut in your body or in any part of your body. So you can see the proteins has many functions, like some proteins are used for the muscle building, some proteins are used for blood clot, some proteins are the carrier proteins like the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a blood carrier protein which carry and they transfer blood, oxygen from blood to the different parts of our body. So proteins has a lot of function. That is why they are very much necessary for our survival. Now the question is, what is the composition of proteins? So the answer is amino acids are building blocks of proteins. So proteins are made up of amino acids. Mostly in our cells there are almost 170 types of amino acids are found. But in spite of having a large number of amino acids in our cells, proteins are made up of only 20 types of amino acids with repetition. Proteins are made up of only 20 types of amino acids. For example, adenine and histidine. These are the amino acids which do not contribute in the formation of the proteins, but they are found in our body cells, but they cannot take part in the formation of protein. So adenine and histidine are the amino acids which do not take part in the formation of protein. So coming towards the structure of amino acids. Amino acids have the general structural formula in which a central carbon atom is present, which is called as alpha carbon. We are talking about the structure of amino acids. Amino acids are made up of a central carbon atom which is called as alpha carbon, and it has a carboxyl group on one side, amino group on another side, and at third position it has a hydrogen group, and at fourth position it has a functional group. So all the amino acids have this structural formula, but the variation occur in case of the functional group. All the amino acids vary in case of this functional group. If the R, the functional group is, for example, if R is if in place of the R or the functional group there is hydrogen is attached. So this amino acid, if there is a hydrogen, so this amino acid is called as glycine. And if in place of the functional group there is a methyl group, if there is a methyl group is attached in case of the functional group, so such amino acid is called as alanine. Now you can see all the amino acids, they differ from each other with respect to the functional group. If the function in place of the functional group there is a hydrogen is attached, so the amino acid would be glycine. And on the other side, if methyl group is attached in place of functional group, so the amino acid is called as alanine. So this is the basic structural formula of the amino acids. As you can see, all the amino acids have a carboxyl group and amino group in common. Amino group is basic in nature. While carboxyl group is acidic in nature. So on the basis of the presence of the amino group and the carboxyl group, amino acids can be classified in the following classes or in the following types, you can say. So on the basis of presence of number of how many amino group or how many carboxyl group are present in an amino acid. So on the basis of the presence of number of amino group and carboxyl group, on the basis of the presence of number of amino group and the carboxyl group, amino acids can be classified as neutral amino acid, basic amino acid and acidic amino acid. So what are the neutral amino acids? If in an amino acid amino group which is NH2 is equal to carboxyl group, then such amino acid is called as neutral amino acid. For example, glycine. Glycine is a type of neutral amino acid. But if the amino group is greater than carboxyl group, if in an amino acid amino group is greater than carboxyl group, so such amino acid is called as basic amino acid. For example, alanine. Alanine is an example of basic amino acid. And same in case of the acidic amino acid, because the carboxyl group is acidic in nature. If in an amino acid carboxyl group is greater than amino group, so such amino acid is called as acidic amino acid. For example, aspartic acid. So these are the some types of the amino acids on the basis of the number of the carboxyl group and amino group. Amino acids can also be classified on some other basis, like amino acids can be classified. There can another classification of the amino acids, and amino acids can also be classified on the basis of whether our body need those amino acids or can prepare those amino acids or not. So on the basis of requirement of our body, or on the basis whether our body can prepare amino acids or not, amino acids can be classified into essential and non-essential amino acids. So what are the essential amino acids? Essential amino acids are those amino acids which cannot be prepared our body, which cannot be prepared by our body. So we need these amino acids from an external source like plants or animals. So essential amino acids are those, they cannot be prepared our body. For example, tryptophan, methionine, these are essential amino acids, while non-essential amino acids are those which can be prepared our body. If our body can prepare some amino acids, so they are called as non-essential. We do not require them from an external source, so they can be prepared by our body. For example, glutamic acid and aspartic acid. So this is how the amino acids can be classified on various bases. Now how the proteins can be formed? Proteins are formed when amino acids join together by peptide linkage. So when two amino acids join together, so a linkage is formed between them, and that linkage is called as peptide linkage or peptide bond. And amino acids is joined together. Amino acids join together and form a polypeptide chain, which is called a protein. Called protein. And the number of amino acids in different proteins vary. In some proteins, the number of amino acids may be 50. In some proteins, the number of amino acids may be 150, and so on. Now we will see how the amino acids join together. So we are going to take the example of the glycine and alanine. So I am going to draw the glycine. This is the amino acid glycine. On one side there is a carboxyl group. On the other side of the alpha carbon there is a amino group, and there may be a functional group which is a hydrogen, and on the other side another hydrogen. So this is the simplest amino acid. Glycine is the simplest amino acid. When glycine group together with the alanine, so what happens? In case of the alanine, all the structure is same except the functional group, and in case of the alanine, there is a methyl group in place of the functional group. NH2 amino group is present, so I am going to write H2N, because we have to, when a peptide bond is formed, so a molecule of the water is released. So how the molecule of the water is released? A hydroxyl group from glycine and a hydrogen from the amino group attached with each other, and a molecule of water is released, as a result of which peptide bond is formed. Now glycine and alanine join together, and when the two amino acids join together, so the carboxyl group of the one amino acid link with the amino group of the other amino acid, and in case of this, hydroxyl group from the carboxyl group of the glycine and the hydrogen from the amino group of the alanine join together and release a molecule of the water, as a result of which peptide bond is formed. So this would be like so. So this bond which is between actually the peptide bond is between the carbon and the nitrogen. Here the oxygen will go up, a linkage between the carbon and nitrogen. So this linkage between the carbon and the nitrogen is called as peptide bond. So this is how the amino acids link together and form a long polypeptide chain for the formation of protein. So in this case, this is a dipeptide because the two amino acids are joined together, glycine and alanine. This is a dipeptide and its name is glycine alanine, because the glycine and alanine join together and a dipeptide is formed, which is called as glycine alanine. So in the case of the dipeptide, you can see here our amino group is free and on the other side our carboxyl group is free. So what happens in case of the peptide bond formation? Carboxyl group of the one amino acid and the amino group of the other amino acid join together. So the reactive groups are free for the formation of other peptide bonds. So this is all about the amino acids, which are the basic building block of the protein. In the next lecture we will discuss about the types of the proteins.